welcome to another episode of JoyPad Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Michael Pinto. Joining me are Mr. Michael Fleming and Tom. Megan is, indisposed, sleeping, I hope. I hope nothing is wrong. I have not heard from her in several hours.
She's certainly not out committing violent crimes.
I'm making this sound more foreboding than it is. She's probably just asleep, so everything's fine. We're going to talk about video games and stuff this week, just like we always do. I'm going to pass it off first to Mr. Michael Fleming, fresh back from his second cruise in like half a year, so, you know.
In 4.5 months.
Yeah.
Not that I'm, any kind of prestigious man or anything. Well, anyway, I am doing very well. As you said, I am back from vacation, which is wonderful. I hope people that did the podcast or listened to the podcast or did the podcast missed me last week. I have not played much of anything in the past, obviously, week and a half or so. I played a little bit of what is it called? Stick Fight the game?
Yeah, I was going to say, what about in the past 30 minutes?
Right before the podcast, we got some Stick Fight the game in, and that was fun. I always enjoy that game. It's a little bit ultimate chicken horsey, just fun. Who really cares? You want to win, but if you don't, usually you die in a funny way anyway. So enjoyed that. But I haven't played anything else, so that's enough about games for now. Yeah, that's all you need to know about me. So, Tom, how you doing? I guess I'm drinking water and iced tea, but who cares? I always drink water and iced tea on the podcast, so nothing. So anyway, Tom, how you doing? What are you drinking? What you playing?
Well, I'm drinking Bang Blue Raz and water, so who cares? It's the same shit I'm always drinking on the podcast. It's more water than the Blue Raz at this point, because I didn't nap today, so I'm kind of tired, and I'm probably going to throw down another energy drink before I even have bedtime. So
you're gonna drink another energy drink before you go to bed.
not like oh, I'm feeling like I'm gonna go lay down and go to sleep for the night. Better have my energy drink beforehand. No, that's what melatonin's for. 9 p.m. is usually energy drink o'clock for me, so that I can stay up for like an hour longer and not fall asleep immediately. Some people would say that's unreasonable. I would say they're correct. I'm just an unreasonable person. Anyway, so we did Stick Fight. I've been playing a lot of Madden. The team of Atomic Supermen is basically pulled together. I've been playing less Rocket League probably than the last time that we talked. But I played some today, and they have an interesting mode, like temporary, limited time mode available. Called Hot Shot Ricochet, where you have infinite boost, and if you hit the ball, it will take whatever path it can to get to the opponent's goal. So everyone just sits in goal trying to reflect it back and forth. And I found that the winning formula for that is to not be that guy and just drive to the opponent's goal and crash the shit out of all the other cars. So that's fun. The only thing that sucks about that is you don't get points for crashing cars, so everyone else on your team kind of gets the points, and then you got Mr. Big Hat running people down in the goal, which is all right, but they go pretty quick, that particular mode, so it's fun. And I found that I don't know if it's probably been a while since you guys have played Rocket League, but they have a new kind of loot box thing where there's like seasons and you can win loot boxes throughout the season by doing certain things. So it's a little bit better than it was when they had those shitty blueprint rewards that were tied to buying points from the store. I have so many blueprints I can't do shit with.
Yeah.
So that's been a little bit fun. You can kind of earn those throughout the season. So, but overall, is the effect lasting with Rocket League? Probably not. I've honestly been playing a lot of Madden, so it is what it is. But we're looking forward to Pokemon Arceus on Friday. But that's basically it for me, I think. So, Pinto, how about you? How you doing? What you drinking? What you playing?
I mean, I'm just drinking water, so like, who gives a shit, right? Just drinking water.
JoyPad 2022. Who gives a shit?
That's the new tag. That's the tagline for the new year. Who gives a shit? Drinking water. What have I been playing? So I picked up Breath of the Wild and I played it for literally 15 seconds. Link woke up and I was like, "Cool, the game's downloaded," and I turned it off.
Nicely done.
Very good.
I think
Very
again,
good.
it's because as I've stated in the prior couple episodes, it's a New Year's resolution to play Skyrim, and if I start playing like Breath of the Wild, Skyrim ain't happening, brother.
Yeah.
I've got a hideous secret for you, Pinto.
Yeah,
Breath of the Wild is Skyrim.
I know, but just Zeldified.
Yep.
That's right, Zeldified. And yeah, and Fleming, you weren't here last week. I was talking about how I kind of wanted to. Oh, he's gone. Anyways.
Sorry. Sorry, I'm here.
I wasn't
No,
looking. I just saw your chair shaking and empty, and I thought you like got up and walked away to like go talk to your wife
No.
again.
No, sorry. My I got a chair mat, and this chair mat like curls on the edges, and I got my toe stuck underneath of it, and I couldn't move and get my foot out. I'm sorry.
The trap has been set.
This is totally unrelated. Sorry.
I was just gonna say last week I mentioned that I was feeling the urge to play Stardew Valley again.
There it is.
I have
you do
not. I have not done that. I have not done that yet.
I really want to play as a group though. Like it's been kind of on my mind. The problem is getting enough time. Stupid adult lives don't allow us to all get together to play Skyrim.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, you can never play Skyrim together enough.
Yeah.
Megan's
So
not.
I've started
Megan's
out
not
with it.
here, man. We could play ESO. I don't want to play ESO.
No thanks.
I don't either.
Megan and I started playing House of Ashes together. I'm way into it. Except the problem is we're recording it for the YouTube channel and her capture device messed up. So we recorded like 3 episodes where it's just a thumbnail.
Oh.
And now we have to go back through and re-record it. And it's like, but my reaction
And have
won't be
genuine
genuine.
reactions to
Yeah,
things you already know.
I won't have my like, oh my god moments. So it's kind
Aw,
of a bummer.
that sucks.
But
So you recorded her screen, not yours.
no,
so...
she was capturing it, but something went wrong
okay.
with her capture card
Gotcha.
where the video froze. It captured the audio, not the video.
Mhm.
So
Well, what you could do is you could play the game again and then take the audio clips. And
Do you
that
know
sounds like
how
a lot of
hard
effort.
that would be
Play
for
it at
that
the
kind of
exact
game?
same pace.
God.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, we talked about that game at length last episode, and it's good. It's real good, and I want to play more of it.
Are you finding so many of the characters as unlikable in the beginning as I did?
Yeah. The only character I liked died. So,
Oh.
and I mean spoilers.
Oh, yeah,
When
yeah,
they
yeah,
when
no,
they
no.
didn't get the little like intro that tells you their name and it like zooms in on them and it's like this character is courageous and also but farts a lot. You're like they're gonna die. They don't show their special little qualities. They're gonna die. I was like that dude's dying and that dude's dying, and they were the first 2 people to die. So
Yeah. I was okay with one of them, though.
oh yeah, the Asian guy. You could say it. It's fine.
He's a douche.
He was a dick. It's fine. I really think that's about it.
I just
Yeah.
didn't say the Asian guy because I didn't want to spoil anything.
Well, I mean, I didn't
Not
say
because
his
I have
name.
some sort of racial hang-up.
Maybe there's like 5
Come
Asian
on.
guys. You don't know.
I suppose, like, Iraqi is a type of kind of Asian. Not really.
Western Asian. Eastern?
No
I
one
don't know.
says that.
No.
Can we make
They
that
don't.
a thing now? It's no longer Middle Eastern. Now you're Western Asian.
There it is.
Coined here on the JoyPad podcast.
Western Asian. I'm writing that down. That's that's one of the titles this week. Western Asians.
Dick, listen, I'm white. I can make these sort of proclamations.
All right, let's move on to this week's topic.
Move on quick.
So, we talked about this a little bit last week, Tom, and I kind of wanted to get into a full-blown discussion with Fleming on this week. I kind of wish Megan was here, but I miss her. I wanted to talk about kind of our styles of gaming, but more in competitive versus co-op and what you prefer, or competitive co-op. So, like Fleming, you're much more of a competitive player in general when it comes to games. I find myself to be much more of a co-op player in general when it comes to games, but I also like when I get to work together with my friends against other people. I don't like playing against my friends.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is I'm not a particularly competitive person in general. So, for example, Fleming, when you play, say, Mario Kart with your wife,
We
she's
got to be
very
careful on this.
she's
She listens to
competitive.
the. She
Like
is
she
very
gets upset
competitive.
when she doesn't win. But even if you two were to team up and be like, "Oh, we're on a team," but you still do better than her even though you both win, she also gets upset.
We have not actually done that version where you can like team up and do races. Maybe I should try that. But I would, knowing her as I know her, and you guys obviously know her very well too, my expectation would be she'd still be upset. Like if, especially if it wasn't like we're placing first and second every time. If we're placing like me first every time and her second, third, fifth or something like that, she would probably get upset because she knows that I saved like the win for us.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, I never had that issue when we were playing StarCraft because I'd be like, "Well, you're going to carry the weight, man." And I'm just here to like kind of help and clean up the leftovers.
Yeah.
So,
There was times though in StarCraft where, if especially when like you could see like the person's rank or whatever and people knew that I was decent at the game,
oh, you'd be
I
targeted.
would
Yeah.
I'd be targeted a lot, and I know that then often those times, especially if the game went to like late game, which would probably be like 15, 20 minutes real time for people that don't know StarCraft, you got very strong by that point, and you usually could carry or at least like hold your own because you were pretty good with Zerg at that point in the game, especially in StarCraft 2, not Brood War. But yeah, I think I agree with you. I'm probably more on the competitive. I don't know how many competitive co-op games I've played from the perspective of against other people beyond like Rocket League that Tom mentioned earlier.
StarCraft.
I guess StarCraft would be the other one, but beyond those two, I don't know. I don't think we've really played a lot of competitive co-op as a group.
I think we tend to lean more towards PvE when we do
Yeah,
competitive
Hmm.
co-op.
yeah.
I think a
Um,
big I feel like a big problem with competitive co-op games is you need to have like a team of 5, and we're generally like a team of 3 or 4 when we play those games.
That's a good point. And the other thing too is that from a competitive perspective, I am most competitive in first person shooters, which I know you do not play much at all. And Tom, I
I'm
know
poopy at them.
you've barely played any competitive co-op either, from a first person shooter perspective, at least.
well, I used to like playing Overwatch a lot, but that's a different type of competitive co-op, and you guys did not care for that all when we tried it.
I really didn't.
I don't like competitive games where your character can play a major part in kind of how good or how bad you are, if that makes sense. Like obviously every character has their strengths and weaknesses, but something like Overwatch, you have cases where a character gets like overpowered because of some kind of buff they received or a nerf that something else or someone else has received. Like you see that in StarCraft 2 as well,
Yeah.
but not to the same extent and not in the same frustration. Like I played Counter-Strike for
I,
I mean, I haven't played it in a couple of years now, but I played it on and off for like 15 years or so. And 10 of those, maybe even 11 or 12, was extremely competitively. And I I would not want to play a first person shooter where someone else is better than me just because they're using this character who, does X, Y, or Z that my character cannot do and cannot compete with.
See, I disagree with you that it's any different from StarCraft because that's how I feel about StarCraft. Because there are people that know how to do certain things that I just can't compete with. But Overwatch is the same idea where your characters have limitations and it's just team balance. You just have to make sure that your team
But
knows
it's not.
what they're doing.
Yeah, but it's not the. So you said the person versus the. I agree. There's certain units that are obviously going to do better. If you have zealots, you're not going to be able to kill void rays. Just as a terrible example, but you can't shoot up, right? And I agree with you that there's a skill to like blink stalkers, for example. That was a huge thing where like I remember when what was it called? Alpha at StarCraft or whatever the name of the AI that like learned how to play StarCraft 2 was able to micro perfectly every blink stalker. So it was blinking back like perfectly and like even dodging shots with it. And it was like ridiculously overpowered. It was doing like 1500 APM or something like that. That's almost otherworldly and like a
I'm at that
person
level.
can't do that. Of course. But I I think that can still be learned though, and that still is a skill that you need to have. I guess what I'm saying is I don't find some of those like first person shooters where your character has a specific type of skill that my character would not be able to compete because we just don't match up well. It's a little bit different. And I might be
I
totally wrong on that. It's just from
well,
first person shooter perspective, that's how I feel on them.
yeah, I think it takes it to a different level. Like if you start at Counter Strike is all things are equal,
Mm-hmm.
basically. Everyone has access to the same, more or less, same equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a squad, trying to either kill each other or accomplish a goal, setting the bomb, defusing the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then you have like the other end with the RTS, and you have your kind of counters to different things. So like you said, Void Rays versus Zealots, stuff like that. Not that I think that's a common matchup, but
But I mean I
I
went to the extreme.
I understand the point. You have strengths versus
Yes.
weaknesses, and you know that there are certain units that have counters. So like you would say,
Mm-hmm.
this guy is good against that type of unit. He's going this thing. I need to do this thing. Well, that's Overwatch is the same thing, just on an FPS level, because basically you would say they have these people on their team. In order to counter that, I should switch to this other character and play that to do a different thing. Because
Mm-hmm.
you're not locked in at the beginning of a match. You can just switch who you are.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of a matter of learning that. So, I mean, that's just my perspective on it. Is it's a different way of doing counters and bringing that into an FPS world. But
Yeah.
it's a different playing field than like a Counter Strike.
Yeah. Well, let's jump from that because I feel like you can't RTS is a little bit different than first person shooter in terms of class and characters and units and such. But if we look at something like Dota, or League of Legends, any of those, I guess is a better relation to something like StarCraft, where yes, there are certain units that have a specific weakness to them, but you're often able to counter that. So like I'm trying to avoid getting too meta in case someone has listens that hasn't played
We're not good
play
at these
StarCraft.
games. Just take
But
them as examples.
so like here's a unit like those Stalker is fast and it can blink and it can move and bounce around. Where a unit like the Colossus or the Immortal is the counter to the Stalker. At least when I played in Wings of Liberty, it was the counter to the Stalker, but Stalkers are faster. And you often will have more like two stalkers for every one immortal. And if you can move your units in and out and use their speed and their mobility to your advantage, that's what made them good. So like I guess what I'm saying is in the competitive sense, from a first person shooter perspective, I don't find that in something like Overwatch. I feel like it's still just shoot and whoever has better aim, but it's not really that because you're able to make yourself into a little ball and go really fast and run somebody over that deals insane damage and you can't hurt them when they're doing it. You get what I mean? Like that kind of thing is the problem with me for first person shooters. But it's the same to jump away from first person shooters and to that Dota that I mentioned. That's where I don't like a competitive game that's has challenges from a unit perspective or a hero perspective, like you see in Dota and League of Legends, because those heroes could be overpowered. It's the same reason why I never got into Warcraft 3, because there were certain units like the Blade Master who were very overpowered heroes. So I just like games where they have a specific skill set, but you can overcome it. I don't feel in those unique unit kind of games I can overcome it quite as much. Just my perspective on that.
Yeah, I think we have to agree to disagree, because I think you can. I think it's just a different type of game, and if you're looking for the Counter Strike kind of experience, that's not what it is. And so much more of it, like things like speed do. feed into that, because there are some slower characters, some faster characters. Like Tracer, for example, is really slow, or really fast, and has abilities that allow her to like go forward even faster or warp backward. But she has super low HP, and she has no like defensive skills except to recover HP by rewinding time. So there's a couple things like that, and you have to get really twitchy and really good at maneuvering and shooting and stuff like that. But a really good fast Tracer player can sneak behind enemy lines and do more damage to like even heavy hitter heroes and stuff, or like get to an objective faster than another character. So there's trade-offs with that versus a slow character like Reinhardt.
That is cool too, because when you have a number of characters like that, it's really cool to be like known as like. If I go back to the Blink Stalkers, just because I'm on that, if you go with like Blink Stalkers, everyone knows the best possible way to use Blink Stalkers is you blink back the weak ones while the other ones keep shooting. You have a nice big arc, and you pull back the ones that are getting hurt, as you need to. That's what everyone goes for. It's very, if you think of StarCraft as like chess, right? The unit does what the unit does. There's no ability to make the unit do anything better than what it could already do. But in a game like Overwatch or League of Legends or any kind of unique unit game, it's really it's cool to know that like this person out there is the best at this character, and they are beyond any other person. If you throw them together with a team, if they are the best Tracer player out there, and you want a Tracer player, you go get that person. That's really cool. There's a lot more specialization to it, which I really like. So I guess I'm on the fence with both, but I definitely think I'm more in the competitive, to kind of circle back to the original topic. I'm much more in the competitive sense, and I don't feel like you guys, at least at this point, have been very competitive co-op with me, at least in the games that I find interesting.
No, I did. So, I mean, I played Overwatch for a while. That was probably the closest I came to being like competitive co-op. But I only had a couple of friends that really ever played that. And they were a couple of my friends from back home. And they fell out with the game and started playing what's called Heroes of the Storm, which I did not care for as much, because that's much more of like a League of Legends kind of thing. And the games take like an hour every time, and I can't make that commitment. And Overwatch games like 15-20 minutes at most. So
but you make commitments to War Selection.
We have not played War Selection in a very long time,
that is
though.
our competitive co-op. That is true. Yeah, we played one game in the past 2 years almost.
It does get brought up from time to time, and it's just like I just don't think I have time, because a game of War Selection, like unless you're getting the Stone Age rush, it's gonna take at least 40 minutes probably.
I mean, the simplest way to put it for the audience who hasn't played it is when you build a wonder, which you would do in like Age of Empires or something like that.
The game still lasts, 45 minutes?
It's still going to be another 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the number of players. I'm pretty sure is how they have it calculated. So that's a long game, because it takes like 45 minutes to get to a wonder in that game. So maybe 30 if you rush it. So it's just such a long game. It's so slow for what it is. And honestly, that whole 15 versus 15 is too big. It doesn't make any sense.
It's fun. I mean, it's, I like the chaos of it, but it's just, if you're good, if you're lasting until the end of that game, it takes way too freaking long.
Yes.
Just for us, we're old, we have things to do. But no, it's still a good game. It's much harder to justify these days. But I think in general, I do prefer the co-op, and I have the same sort of spousal issue as you do, Fleming, where my wife does not appreciate losing in games. So if we're playing a fighting game, she can just whoop my ass, and it's all well and good. But if we're playing Mario Kart, she'll whoop my ass, and then I'll start to pick up on it, and then I'll start to win some, and I'll look over, and she's not having as good a time. So, I mean, it's even influenced the way that I've bought board games, because there are a lot of competitive board games, and we played a couple of them, and she wasn't having as good a time when we were competing against each other. So ended up buying a lot more of games that you kind of play against the game itself.
Oh yeah,
But
I
Yeah.
love that kind of board game.
oh,
Competitive
they're my
co-op board
favorite.
games are the best. You know, like
Dead of
the
Winter.
Dead. Thank you. I was like, what of Winter? I knew it was something.
Yep.
Undead Winter is what was coming to
Arkham
me.
Horror.
Yep, yep. All those kind of games are just are so enjoyable because you get to all work together. Even something like Betrayal on House of the Hill, right? Like you have one person who's going to have to be, um, you know, potential, not all the time, but often will have to be that kind of opponent that you go against.
I
But
turned you all into ooze monsters.
yes, you did. I remember that. Very frustrating. But like even then, if we win, you can be happy because everybody else won, and you kind of were in a tough spot because you were by yourself. You know, you can kind of almost make like excuses in your head for why you couldn't win, and that also was a really hard one. I remember the ooze monster.
Everybody
Um,
was really close to where it started too.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I love games like that. I have a bookshelf full of competitive, or not competitive, but co-op games
Hmm.
that we will have to crack open once I move back east, and we can just play one every month or something. I don't care, if we have time. But I like any game that's even like that. I love. Like, I mean, we've talked about The Forest a million times, Raft, any sort of game like that where we can kind of get on the same team and struggle together
But
is kind
those
of my
aren't
jam.
competitive co-ops, right?
It's just co-op.
They're
Yeah.
just
That's just
co-ops.
co-op. I agree. Yeah. So that's fair. That's more of like where I kind of find my greatest point of joy,
Yeah.
Hmm.
honestly.
I think, and I've brought this up before. My biggest problem I've had with most competitive co-op games that we end up playing is that eventually our skill, it's not even our skill level peters out, but like we just start hitting the point where we're just not quite good enough, but we don't have enough time to commit to it to get better at it. So take like a War Thunder. I love playing War Thunder at the start. And then like you start getting better, you're like, "Oh, cool, I'm getting better planes. Like this is really fun." And then you hit that point where the new planes stop coming in, but you're playing against people that have like jets, and you're like, I die in 2 bullets, and then I have to sit here and watch the end of the match and feel bad because I'm dead."
Yeah, I feel like a lot of that too is a fault of the game not having a good enough ranking system, or intentionally putting you in that situation where you have inferior planes and you can even be paired up against people that have like 7 jets that can
Yeah.
go 1,000 kilometers higher in the air than you can. They can just hang out above you and do whatever the hell they want and terrorize your spawn point.
And
Yeah,
That's just bad game
yeah.
design and
that's just
matchmaking.
yeah. I was about to say that's bad game design. I actually think Rocket League, is a better example of what you're saying, Pinto, where not only do you hit a ceiling of how good you are, but you also have a lot of things like Smurfs, or you have. I mean, you've also mentioned this, I think, on the podcast before, right? Where Tom, I would say, is the best of the three of us in Rocket League. I have moments, especially on defense, I think I do well. But generally speaking, Tom and I are, a level above you, partially
Right.
because we played it more. And it's incredibly frustrating when like you don't either have the skill, like you can't play that game right, or you don't have the time to devote to getting better at the game. And it's frustrating, especially in a co-op with your friends, where it's like I'm the one holding them back. I don't want to be the person playing with them anymore because I'm causing them to not win, to not, be able to celebrate a victory or whatever. And it's tough, right? Because those cases are, what do you do in that? Like, do
Yeah.
you do you just accept it and just keep going on like we did with StarCraft, where like I was above and beyond, like I could probably beat, especially at my highest point, I probably could beat 2 people in of our group of friends in StarCraft, if
Yeah.
not 3,
Yep.
depending on who it is, right? So it's hard. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, and I think everybody's different.
And
So
yeah, that is part of it too, because as I said, like I'm not very competitive at all. So like
mhm.
I think it was easier for me to just be like, "Sorry guys, this kind of sucks." But like I did feel bad because you, Fleming, are very competitive, and Tom, you have your moments. You know, where like
I do.
you take things. We have those moments where we're playing the game, and I can tell you guys are in like serious gamer mode when like we stop joking when we're playing, and like it's just silent. I'm like, okay, they're being like really serious about this, so I have to try and be a better gamer. And like that would happen in StarCraft as well, where I'd be like, Fleming would stop talking, and I'd just hear the furious click, and I'd be like, shit, man, like he's like, and like we'd lose games, and you'd get upset. You'd be like, fuck, man, like I'd hear you get like
Oh, yeah.
audibly frustrated, and I'd be like, I'm sorry, dude, like, and
No, it's not. You have to. So I have the same. Like I actually, one thing I have been playing a little bit of is chess on my phone. It was a lot of fun, and I've been playing against the
kindergartners.
computer.
Oh,
No, against the computer mostly because we were, I didn't have internet mostly when I was on my vacation, and I had to play against the computer. So I was like, I'm just gonna put it on Stockfish level 8. For those of you that don't know, Stockfish is one of the best 2 or so computers out there, and level 8 is pretty good. And
Oh, I know.
I played something like 100 games and I won one. And like it's so frustrating when like to the point of there's no excuse. It's just because you're not as good as it. So like in the case of StarCraft, where I get upset, it's just because I was not as good as that person. And in a team game, you could say, oh, it was 2v1 because, Pinto, you died early or something. But that it still was frustrating because it's like if I could beat them, then I'm a better player. And that would translate to my 1v1 games where, I was, again, very serious and played against some pretty good players. So it's just it's one of those where you have to go in with the knowledge that your friend or your spouse, whatever, is very competitive at something, and they want to succeed. So you need to do what you can to support them when they're really trying. You need to try your best too. And if it's not going to work, or like you don't want to be put in that situation where you're going to hold them back, let them know and find another game that they're not going to be as competitive in. So Rocket League, it was more just fun. Like I was like, I'm never going to be good at this game. There's people that are bouncing off walls and doing like full like rotations with their cars and stuff. I'm like, you guys do that. You guys are great. I'll go play StarCraft 2, for example, and be really good at that.
Well, we started out that way with Rocket League, and then we got kind of good, and then it got more and more and more competitive.
That
and
is
then
true.
I would start to
Yeah.
feel my blood temperature rise, and my skin start to boil from within. So that's why I
yeah.
don't play competitive Rocket League anymore.
There were definitely times when you guys would be like, you want to play Rocket League? And I'd be like,
No.
I don't, but you guys do, so I'm here to have fun with my friends.
Yeah, that's why I think
It
the
got too
whole
much.
the whole verse environment is really nice, right? Because if you play against the computer or the environment, whatever the kind of game leads you to, it's all your frustration is often against that. It's not against like your friends because they're not as good as the enemy and his friends, right? So I don't know. I have come to realize that the competitive side of me, when it comes to games, is not always the healthiest, and that I need to, especially as I get older, I'm not going to have the time to compete with some of these people that play thousands, if not tens of thousands of hours. So I just try to take games a little bit more, I guess, freely, and just kind of play what I can and stay away from some of those really competitive games, especially when I'm going to be playing with my friends. I'd rather just play a competitive or a co-op rather than a competitive co-op.
Well, and I think that's where Pinto already said he struggled with StarCraft, or at least started to, and I think I'm like the poster child for struggle with StarCraft because we pretty
No,
early
hold
on,
on,
and I
hold
think you
on.
guys
Can I just shout out to our friend Dave real quick?
Oh, Dave.
go on.
Uh, StarCraft was not Dave's cup of tea either. Or
No,
Alex,
it
to
was
be
not.
honest. Like, for a while, Alex was pretty good, and then, like, it slowly went from, like, to just the three of us with StarCraft. So then, Tom, you did become the one on the struggle bus with StarCraft. And I think it's also because of, like, we stopped playing as much, too. That was a big part
Mhm.
of it. So when you stop playing as
Yeah,
much, I know you'd go back into the game and be like, I don't know what anything does.
no, no, for real. Well, and I mean, let's be honest, no one builds a city quite like Randy, but we had we had a friend named Randy who used to just set things up in his base like it was a city with little patrolmen. It was beautiful. Randy, if you're listening, you're a fantastic person. Thank you. Um, but yeah, no, and I mean, you guys would watch like the professional StarCraft leagues and stuff, and even when you guys were getting more into that, I couldn't follow along. I just didn't have a lot of the patience to follow it past a certain point. Um, especially because you guys would be watching it while I was doing like student teaching, and that was taking everything out of me at that point. And then at that point, I just couldn't follow along and pick it back up. So I mean, you guys still had some of that. Oh, I lost the word. Like background knowledge, in the back of your head of just like I've watched this. I know what a good strategy is. Do this that way, the other thing, and I didn't have any of that. Like I was still on like early Wings of Liberty strategies, and then it was like, oh, there's all these new units, and I was like, I don't know what they do. I don't know who they
Yeah,
are.
I would love like 6 years later, you'd be like, what the fuck? You have to build a supply depot before a barracks now?
Well,
I
they would
remember.
change stuff.
Yeah.
You didn't used to have to do that.
Yeah, it's because of all the barracks rushes that were happening. People just they just decided to change it. No, you got to build a supply depot first, which really didn't stop the barracks rushes. It just made it about 10 to 15 seconds slower.
I'm sorry. My strategy used to be to mill out Reapers ASAP and then throw them into Pinto's base to blow it up.
Yeah. No, StarCraft definitely kind of died over time, and to the point of someone like Dave who just wanted to be with his friends. It was incredibly frustrating, but we started to find ways to make that better, right? So he just started feeding me money, for example, because I could use it and I would spend it immediately, where if he fed you, Tom, you might not spend it for a little while. So we got a little better with that stuff, but it's definitely tough when you have a group of friends who are not all in on a specific game. And we've always been a team of, or a group of four, not a group of five, and none of you are as competitive as I am. So like doing something like, oh, let's all play as a Counter-Strike team or something like that, that's not going to ever happen, right?
We remember the one time I tried to play Counter-Strike with
I
you.
do remember the
It didn't work out
time you
very
played
well.
Counter-Strike with me, and that was just a public server. We never even played on like ESCA or any CSGO matchmaking, though Pinto actually did decide to play some matchmaking with me once, and
Yes.
that was a funny experience. And
I'm sure he had fun.
he tried.
It was fun in retrospect. At the time, it was incredibly stressful because it was competitive, and like Fleming's doing his best to help me, but like he's got to do his own thing. And then somehow I would end up being the only person left alive, and you know what that means? Clutch or kick, clutch or kick. I'm, oh God, what do I do?
Not even just clutch or kick. You'd also have like the fact that all of your teammates' cameras, your death camera,
they're all
is
watching you.
following the person that's still alive. So you know that 4 other people are watching you play. So when your mouse slides up and you look off to the distance because you just don't know what you're doing or whatever, everyone sees it and everyone knows that you're new or whatever. So
Don't
like,
peek, you fucking noob.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
what?
exactly. Yeah, the bomb's on an A. It's at B and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of FPS, I think there is one that I would love to play with you guys, and I'm getting it shortly, which is Halo Infinite. Is out.
Halo?
Yeah, new Halo.
Fun,
You never played Halo?
Fun Pinto
I did
fact.
play Halo.
I have never played a Halo game. I've
Have
never
you
had
played
an
the first one?
Xbox. Never had an
It's-
Xbox.
It's first-person shooter, but you don't die as easy.
That's
So,
good.
Like, yeah, you have armor. There's fun stuff like rocket launchers and alien guns and shit and grenades. It's fun. I've heard the new one's really good.
I think you guys would also enjoy something like Battlefield, different versions of Battlefield, because while it's competitive from the sense of, you are trying to win the match, it's all public stuff, right? I don't even know if there's Battlefield tournaments out there. I never would bother, but like Battlefield's a lot of fun. You do die very fast in Battlefield. That's the one downside, but it is fun to like all hop into a plane or whatever, with a squad of friends and stuff. So
I have to say, I did have fun playing, and I know this isn't, I guess it's not competitive because it's PvE, but I did have a lot of fun playing Payday.
Payday is a lot.
I
of fun,
did not.
yes. Well, the biggest problem is I had played like 600, 700 hours of Payday and knew at the time how to beat like every map at the hardest difficulty. So I was like, oh, this is what we do. And it's like, but I don't know how to jump, crouch, kind of thing like you're doing to keep your stealth low or keep the detection low so you can get past that guard. And that's frustrating. But Payday is a lot of fun, and it's kind of similar to Left 4 Dead, right? It's competitive, but who cares? Because it's not really competitive because you're against the computers and you're just trying to beat the mission or beat that level. So
Yeah, Pinto, I think you like that more than I did, but I think you're also getting a little bit of peak end principle on it, because I don't know if you remember all the times that we were just knocked out on the floor going, Fleming, help me!
Yeah,
Help me,
because
call the hostage man!
you know what I am remembering? I'm remembering the mission where I took in a flamethrower, and then my backup weapon was a flamethrower, and we were we were capturing goats.
Yes,
So,
that one was great.
oh
Goat
yeah,
Simulator one.
the goat simulator one, that was fun.
But we also, I don't think we played that one on as high a level as we did.
yes,
many of
because
the other
I
ones.
had to keep telling Fleming, I'd be like, dude, you have to tone it down for us, man. You can't throw us in at 6 skulls because like you're level 700, we're level 12.
Well, the other thing too is that game kind of combines, right? Like you don't have to be the best aimer, of the group, but if you are and you can headshot every, police officer that comes in, you're able to kill them in one hit, right? A headshot
Yeah.
is usually one hit, especially with almost every gun it was at the lower difficulties. So I could just sit there using a Desert Eagle or some kind of, pistol and just shoot them all down, and that was all I needed to do. So it was almost not fun for me because it wasn't even a challenge. But I think that is probably where, when we come to like competitive games, that we've kind of settled on, where we're not against the like other players or something, where you're gonna have to deal with Smurfs and all different kinds of stuff, and also just different skill sets or abilities in the game. I think we've all kind of settled on our group of friends as much more of a competitive, or sorry, like a co-op against that's competitive against only the computer, right? We don't like to play against other players necessarily.
Here's the thing. I think a lot of PvP competitive games are very action focused. And I think, at least for me, I prefer more of a strategic focus in competition. So if we're playing a game like Risk, which all of us know and love, and I think we played at least a full day's worth during your bachelor party weekend, Fleming.
Yes, because
And
I
by
have the
day, I
best
mean
bachelor
24 hours.
Yes, the Venezuela Pact must not be
Partially
broken.
sober. Yes, I think often of the Venezuela Pact. Um, but like a game like that, all of us can get engrossed in, and we can do that. We can just play that for hours. Fleming, you and I played Twilight Struggle for a long time, and I would play it again. I would really have a good time playing that again. It's just, there's not that many games like that where you play against kind of like another squad of players. And it's difficult to organize because they take so much time.
From a
And people,
strategy perspective, you're talking about
Yeah.
you don't, there's not many games like that.
because that's where I'm at. Like if there's a board game style kind of tactical strategic focus like that, I could get in on that tomorrow.
Do you know, Tom, if the Steam or any kind of online version of like Axis and Allies can be played against the computer?
There is Axis and Allies 1942, which I
Yeah.
bought, and
But you haven't played yet.
I played it. I played like the tutorial level, and it was like too much to take in.
Well, I'm just thinking
Um,
something like that would probably be up our cup of tea, or that's not what I was
Up
going
our
for,
cup
but-
of tea.
I would have
Yeah.
to see. We might be able to do that
Because
as like
that would be a
especially
really
if there's
good
3 of
one.
us.
Yep, the three
Yeah.
of us could play as the allies against the two, computer Axis.
Players.
That
Yeah.
would actually, I think, be a really good game. That would probably be up. It's a little competitive because obviously you can lose, but like it's very much up our alley because it is more strategy based, and you can take your time. You don't have to rush to learn it. And I think we've all played Axis and Allies at least a little bit, so we know kind of the general strategy. Well, we can teach you.
The
It's
rules
not
are
the
built in,
hardest
at
game.
least,
It's
yeah.
not that hard. The worst part about that game is setting it up from a board game perspective.
There's a lot of rules, but the
There's
game
some,
does
but-
walk you through it. It's like when you play Twilight Struggle online. It's a lot easier than trying to play it at the table, trying to learn the rules.
Yes.
Which we did. But yeah, I'm actually gonna fire up 1942 and see if it has a multiplayer versus PC. That would be interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Out of curiosity, Fleming, have you played? Well, I don't know. Have you gotten Age of Empires 4?
I have not yet. I was really on Age of Empires 2 for a while.
I remember.
And played it quite a bit. I wanted something. StarCraft 2 kind of died in Heart of the Swarm for me, so I never even really played Legacy of the Void competitively. I liked the design. I thought there were some problems in Wings of Liberty, but I liked the design of the game. But I have not played Age of Empires 4. I've heard very good things, but I've also heard, just circling back to the beginning of the podcast tonight, that there are some civilizations in that game, like the Mongols, who are very overpowered, which they've always kind of been overpowered, but especially at the start of Age of Empires 4, they were. So it would be a fun game to play. Definitely something that I would consider playing, but I don't know how much you guys want to play something that it requires a lot of nuance. I'm going to describe it as, where you need to know like how to place buildings, how many workers you need to have on things like wood versus food, and it gets a little bit weird.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm interested. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss that. I have that hole in my heart where StarCraft used to be, and War Selection doesn't really fill it. As even
it
though
fills it too slowly because the games are too long.
Yeah, I like War Selection, but as we said, it's a slow game.
I'm into it if I can be just as competitive as I was at War Selection and no more. that's the level I need to be able to play at.
Honestly, dude, we're pretty good at War Selection. As long as we can push off that early pressure, generally we win those games. So
we lose by wonder more often than anything else, or we lose by the fact that it's like 10v3. Everyone else is left from our team.
I'm just saying, if I have to rise to Fleming's level to be good at the game, I'm not going to enjoy it. If I can play at the level I'm at with like a War Selection, I'm good. I'll have a good time. I did just confirm, by the way, Axis and Allies 1942, we can play any number of players versus computer. So,
we absolutely should do that. I think we'd have a good time with that.
I'm into it.
Well, we found a new game to play.
Yay!
You know what I was thinking about the other day? As I edit the podcast and all that nonsense. We never went back to the Wild 8. I feel like that was just kind of like a placeholder game where we were trying to find our next The Forest or our next Raft.
It wasn't as good as
it was too slow. Again,
it was slow.
It was very slow.
It was interesting, but it was samey.
Yeah.
So and God help me, it's just not fun when sudden cold springs up all the time and half of the game is run to shelter.
Build a fire quickly.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I just don't enjoy it. So that's not a knock on the game. It's just your mileage may vary kind of statement.
Yeah. I also thought we might want to try Stranded Deep, which is like apparently a more realistic raft.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've seen people play that game, and I agree that game would probably be pretty good for us too.
I'm into it. I know Megan brought up Green Hell before as well, and I keep seeing that from time to time.
That's also like a very similar to The Forest, I believe. But hey, in a couple months, Sons of the Forest will be out. And hopefully soon, the next Raft update will be out, which I sent you guys a couple weeks ago now that they put up a new dev blog.
Yeah, wasn't there a new sort of environment or resource or something that was going on with that?
Raft, the new version of Raft is going to have a lot of new things.
Yeah.
But that's still a little bit of ways out, unfortunately, it looks like.
One day. We will get
One day.
there.
One day. So I think
But yeah,
what this boils down to is we're all old and don't have a competitive drive anymore.
this whole podcast is an exercise, and so we're old, and
We
It
may as
just-
well
it
call
gets
it like
harder.
the Aging Gamers podcast.
yeah,
Maybe. I mean, it just gets harder. And like the funny thing is, I've listened to people like Day9, for example, put up a video the other day on YouTube, from his like his channel where he was talking about adventure games and how they don't really exist anymore. And he was talking about like King's Quest and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I remember King's Quest 1, like being 4 or 5 years old, playing on like our first computer with the floppy disks. And like, I'm just like, God, I am old. And like kids don't understand like those kind of puzzle adventure games anymore because they don't really exist in the same
God,
way that they do.
they were impossibly difficult. Though.
Oh, as
like,
a little
you had
kid,
to...
they were so hard. Myst,
Yeah.
I didn't understand what I was doing.
No, I people have nostalgia for those games, but if they go back and try and play them again, you realize that if you don't know the exact terminology to punch in to do a thing, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
They cool ideas, but I mean, I think the modern adventure game is like Uncharted, which is
Yep.
a lot of fun. Honestly, I love Uncharted.
Yeah.
So take that, Day9.
But yes, we are all challenged from a time perspective now, losing 8 hours to 12 hours a day just being an adult definitely makes it hard to keep up on the games that you want to keep up on or whatever. So,
Dude,
and
yeah.
also there's other passions and stuff you get too as you get older.
Dude,
Like,
yeah, I just remember right after I graduated college, the amount of time we played DayZ mod was bonkers.
yeah.
We had nothing else to do.
Well, I mean, yeah, that 2012, end of 2012, 2013-ish time frame. Yeah, we played a lot of DayZ. It was a lot of fun, right? Good times.
You know, the
Let-
Blacklands server is still up, by the way. I was on the Discord because I just happened to be on Discord the other night. It was supposed to shut down at the end of October last year. It's still going.
You know what? I'm almost thankful that they said it was going to shut down because I think that was my impetus to wind down on DayZ. And if they hadn't, I would probably still be sitting in front of the computer driving to Roadblock.
I was going to say, doing Roadblock, yeah.
I mean, we've talked about it, but DayZ is one of those games that just becomes a time sink once you get to a certain point. And it's with appropriate mods, it's fun. But the other thing was a lot of the mods were breaking and stuff got lost, and then a lot of the stuff that you wanted to do didn't have value anymore. So
I'm still
wasn't
just
fun
sad we
anymore
didn't
either.
get to all do Stronghold together. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did Megan ever get to do it?
I
No,
don't
she
think
didn't.
so.
She's the one that never got to do it.
Yeah.
Did
'cause I
we
think
do it together?
until
'Cause I did it once with Fleming, and I did it once with you, Tom. But did we do it all
Yep.
three of us together?
No, we tried. It popped up one time, and we couldn't get there in time.
Bummer.
Yeah.
The server
Yeah.
restarted.
Yep.
Which
It
sucks.
sounds like we're gonna have
like
to
that was
have
a
a-
shitty setup.
it was tough because you needed so much to go there. So like what we probably should have done is like set up a tent or a
A
chest
go bag,
somewhere.
which we actually
which
discussed.
we started to do. Yep.
Yeah.
We started to set up a go bag or some kind of go car or something like that. And just never got to it. But I think I don't know if I would ever sink that amount of time into a game again like I did back in 2012, 2013. Just because while I had a wonderful time, I realized that I'm never going to get back my 23, 24, 25-year-old self anymore. And that makes it tough, right? And it's, I don't know.
We
but
spent the prime of our life playing DayZ. Oh God, existential
You weren't gonna
crisis
do
and
anything
the
better with it.
podcast.
Yes, so I think that we should probably end the podcast before we go down that road, which is totally unrelated to what the topic was this time. But
Listen, the result is that we were true pro gamers that spent the prime of our lives pro gaming because we're pros and we're gamers.
and we
So
made no money doing it.
take that, America.
Yeah. Yay.
We defeated capitalism. That's all that means.
Well,
Yep.
goodbye, everyone. Thanks for
Thank
listening
you.
to our podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Hey, how aren't I normally the one that like brings the mood down? I'm like bringing the mood up today, all right? Because you know what? I enjoy playing the competitive co-ops and the uncompetitive co-ops with you guys, and even though we have to prioritize some things because of time, but we still find time, all right?
Yeah,
And we
buying,
still have a good. We were just playing Stick Fight for like 20 minutes. Or more, and beating the ever loving hell out of each other and laughing about it. So, gaming's not dead.
All right.
I'm joyful.
One more suggestion, real quick. I've mentioned this before. We gotta play Nintendo games together, guys. We all have Switches. Why don't we fucking do that?
Because
Switch Online sucks.
Oh, okay.
Fine.
That's a good reason.
But when we're like together in person, yes, because
Couch co-op is the best.
Was a lot of fun. Oh, couch co-op is the absolute best.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure me bringing my Switch to Fleming's house made them get a Switch because we were going down the raft, and we just couldn't stop going down the raft in Mario Party.
For our video viewers, show us the hand motion we had to do to go down the raft.
Enjoy that.
Yep.
Fun times. Fun times.
Take that, audio
What?
viewers. Damn it. And the podcast.
For the audio viewers, we made a jerking off motion with both hands. Have fun with that. Audio viewers, audio listeners.
And the podcast.
It's you. It's your topic.
Oh shit. Thanks for
No,
listening, everyone. Thanks for listening, everyone.
yeah.
JoyPadPod.com. JoyPad. Shit, I don't even remember.
You had it. You're good.
Which one
going.
is it? JoyPadPod.com?
JoyPadPod.com.
Yeah, go there. Our links are all there to where you can find our social medias and stuff. The YouTube is now much more active. What with gameplay videos going up. Megan and I recently played My Beautiful Paper Smile. That's going up there. And House of Ashes, when we finish that, will be going up there, as well as Little Hope. Screenshot Let's Plays coming in the very near future. Let us know what else you want to see. If you want to play games with us and carry us on your backs to competitive glory, please do so. And I think that's it.
Critique our jerk off motions in the comments on YouTube.
Oh God!
Have fun with that.
No, don't do
Please
that.
don't. Please don't.
Everyone's gonna be like, "Dude, you were going way too fast. You got it. You need some lube." And all right.
Listen, we're all
Stop
different,
talking.
okay?
Stop talking.
All right. Don't get competitive about how you jerk off. Always be cooperative. Stay joyful.
Goodbye.